So, GNEAR, GNUF, GM everyone. Super excited to be here today. My name is Peter. I'm the founder of NEARWEEK, one of the leading NEAR media brands. And I couldn't be more excited to be here on stage today with four of some of the most contributing community members, workers of the foundation of the NEAR protocol during the last couple of years. We got Kronia, head of ecosystem at NEAR Foundation. We got MJ, working at Proximity Labs, the R&D lab for chain signatures. We got Vlad Frolov from DevHub, one of the nicest and smartest NEAR devs you'll ever meet. And we got Marcus from Frontier, working 24/7 to support our ecosystem and the boundaries of what we're doing. So before we get started, I just want to give like a quick sum up of what's been going on for the last 12 months. And we've seen Nightshade 2.0. We're ready to scale to trillions of agents. We've seen the rebirth of NEAR AI, an AI R&D lab, the original vision that Alex and Ilya started the NEAR protocol blockchain from. We've seen the launch of the Delphi x NEAR AI accelerator on their second cohort. We've seen the launch of the BetaWorks x NEAR AI program, looking at more of the Web2 AI applications. We've seen the launch of chain signatures, heard a lot of great updates. The latest one this morning with Infinix announcing they're actually doing part of their product on NEAR. We have seen a new governance framework come to life, very promising, something I'm looking into, digging deeper into in this conversation, provided in cooperation with Gauntlet. And a big increase in TVL with a huge increase in stablecoins. Rogue NEAR protocol marketing, we finally got a clear narrative. Network usage among the highest in the industry. Millions of accounts, billions of transactions, and we've never had any outage. I think that's pretty impressive throughout the last 4 years. So I think it's always interesting to get the point of the developers in this ecosystem. So Vlad, I'm going to start with you. I think it's fair to say that there's a growing interest in NEAR DevHub. Your metrics has really been growing a lot over the past 12 months, and it's really looking great. So what do you think has been working well for DevHub the past year, and what are you trying to achieve with DevHub at this point?
Very good question, and indeed, we see the growth, and the North Star for the NEAR ecosystem has been always mass adoption, not just to build the blockchain for the sake of blockchain, another tech for the sake of tech. It's more about how do we get more users to it, and with how to get users, you start with developers building the apps. And throughout the year, we had a lot of initiatives that we tried and useful tools that we delivered. So it's a lot of improvements on the tooling, SDKs, CLIs, and right now we are into the works of the wallet selector improvements. So there are a lot of that stuff, but also the community and community building and the sense of community ecosystem that we can flourish and get engaged and helping each other. That is something that we're trying to encourage in the NEAR ecosystem and among developers. So DevHub is, let's say, about developers topic. So I cannot say that we are onboarding 30 million users ourselves, but we help developers to bring those users. So I'm very happy to see that happening. And there were a number of hackathons that we did this year. There's been the biggest hackathon, REDACTED hackathon, the longest, and I think through the number of contributions is the biggest in the history of NEAR. And it was very fun and a lot of joy bringing to NEAR.
Awesome to hear, and I think that we're seeing a growing interest in the NEAR protocol due to the narratives we're onto, right? Do you feel that there's a growing interest from developers as well in the tech stack?
On and off, but at the same time, I would that's an honest answer. But realistically, we see a lot more interest when we start talking about deep tech. We kind of lost a bit of a grasp a year before, but this year we rebooted the whole narrative, and the community is growing stronger now, especially on through the tool and through the better onboarding through bare docs and DevRels helping on the ground. You may not see them on the Redacted, but they are well integrated, and they're talking to everyone, collecting the feedback, and then we will act on it. So there is a lot of work. When it does work, you do not notice it. So we hope that we will bring even more to this community.
Definitely, and I think something that is really exciting is that you recently announced your treasury dashboard that you built, which is going to enable you to decentralize funding a lot more and support the developer ecosystem. What do you hope to achieve with this tooling?
Yeah, treasury management tool is long overdue, I would say, frankly speaking. But we needed the solution for non-technical people to also be able to efficiently leverage the power of NEAR. And that is what I think we need to communicate. And this is also our message to other developers. We lead by example. Look, build the toolings, the tooling that is easy to use, because NEAR is easy to use when you just get it all right with handling the corner cases. And another example that if we are talking about a specific project that we are launching is Race of Sloths, which is an engagement platform for developers. So it's we build gamification into the process of contributing to any open source project out there, and we bake in the NEAR tag invisibly there, and we will reveal it to the audience, to the users when they are ready. I don't think it's wise to throw into the face of users all the tech when they do not ask for it. So it's something that we are building internally, and that's what we try to communicate to developers, that focus on the products first, think what's the problem it is solving, and then choose the tech. And NEAR has the best tech, in my opinion, to solve the problems for decentralization, and we show it by example.
So it sounds like it's actually becoming a lot clearer to contribute as a developer.
Absolutely, yeah.
Find your way in the NEAR ecosystem. Super bullish, super bullish. So going from that, Harshit, talking about community, you worked all your way up from the community. You've been grinding the trenches. Everyone knows how dedicated you are, online 24/7. How do you see the NEAR ecosystem maturing?
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun. I've been involved in the ecosystem for 4 years, been in the community before joining the foundation, joined right out of university. The ecosystem has already matured a lot. I think originally it was just, some people in the Discord server trying to find ways they could contribute, but now there's so much to contribute for everyone. So I think if you're a developer, non-developer, if you love DeFi, AI, consumer, you love deep tech, there's everything for any person to be able to contribute in the ecosystem. I think the way I see NEAR as an ecosystem evolving from a community point of view in the future is it will all be about long-term alignment with the protocol and the ecosystem, which is why Ilya's always had this vision of enabling users to be in charge of the assets, governance, power of choice, and this whole idea of house of stake and community-owned governance. We did experiment with the NDC and identity-based governance in the past. Building upon the learnings of the NDC is this idea of a house of stake, which we'll hopefully dive more into when we have some time, is how do we enable community members and users who are aligned with the protocol and long-term success of the ecosystem to have the right to determine where resources flow and resources go into the ecosystem. So that's something explicitly us empowering the users with. And eventually, we're all building for the community. So that's, honestly, if someone was to ask, what is the NEAR North Star? It would be build for the community and build the best community in the world.
I think that's a really, really interesting point. And that leads me to, before we go deeper into the House of Stake framework, Marcus, always being, supporting the community at the foundation before, now working at Frontier. I think it's fair to say you've always been the community's man from the inside, right? what have you been watching? Like, how have you seen the ecosystem mature, and what have you been working on lately to keep supporting the ecosystem?
Yeah, it's been a ride. I mean, 3 years at Foundation, transition to Frontier a few months ago. It's been pretty exciting. I've seen a lot over the years. You know, NEAR's transitioned a few different times. So with this, we've seen, you know, new people come in. Some people kind of go out, like lining up with what NEAR's focus was at the time. Lately, over the past several months, the sentiment's pretty high. It's getting better and better. I think things are going in the right direction. At Frontier, we're hyper-focused on kind of like something that Harshit alluded to. There's been a lot of really cool things being built on NEAR, a lot of breakthrough technologies. NEAR's always been focused on the tech and building an incredible experience, but a lot of things have always been operating in an echo chamber. So my personal role at Frontier is kind of breaking that out of the echo chamber. How do we kind of get people to understand outside in the wider CT space that there is actually some amazing stuff happening on NEAR that even affects you on whatever native chain you're really on. And then just, we're also hyper-focused on just supporting DeFi on NEAR, so identifying gaps and friction points. How do we kind of solve that, whether it's working directly with the teams or maybe working with an outside agency. And then we're also focused on supporting projects that are launching a token on NEAR end-to-end. Really just kind of proliferating volume liquidity and just general traction on NEAR. So it's been really exciting. I could see that a lot of people are kind of coming in. I've seen a lot of other people coming in from other chains showing interest in NEAR. Yeah, it's been amazing.
So what's the reaction when you talk to people outside of NEAR and, you know, start taking them through what we're actually doing here? Like, are people excited?
Yeah, so if you were asking me this even like 6 months ago, it would have been literally a 180 from asking me today. I'm getting a lot of interest. Like my DMs are pretty full of people that, you know, even a year ago probably weren't too interested. You know, they were more focused on the trending narrative at the time. But NEAR's fully aligned. In my opinion, I really love the direction we're taking. It's like a holy trifecta that we're focused on being the blockchain for AI. Ilya and Alex are pretty much at the forefront of this, and also it's a massive meta narrative in the space. So with all of this, as well as the like rapidly increasing on-chain activity and volume over the past few months, yeah, we're getting quite a lot of positive sentiment from outside.
Awesome to hear. I think that's really bullish, and that makes me want to ask you a question, MJ. So now that we're talking about the tech, that's what's going to power, you know, the next revolution of the open web. We have NEAR as the blockchain for AI. What's going to help AI achieve a good blockchain experience, sovereignty? It's going to be powered by chain abstraction, right, and chain signatures. Where does that put NEAR in the broader crypto landscape? I cannot explain how big it was for me to hear this morning that, you know, Kane and the Infinix team standing on stage, DeFi OGs from Ethereum saying, you know, you're not bullish enough on NEAR because of chain signatures. And I don't feel like the rest of the world is as excited as I am. So we get to hear, you know, as a specialist working with proximity, where do you see this put NEAR?
Yeah, sure, it's a good question. So I think the way I see chain abstraction is that, so to achieve the vision where we can create a seamless experience where users don't have to worry about, you know, on which blockchain they're transacting, right? So technically it comes down to two problems. So the first problem is what I call the outbound problem, right? So let's say if I'm on, you know, chain number 1 and I want to do something on chain number 2, right? How do I create an account, construct a transaction, and propagate the transaction from chain number 1 to chain number 2, right? So that's the outbound problem. And then there's the inbound problem. So if I did something on chain number 2, right? How do I, you know, verify and prove that it happened on chain number 1, right? So for the outbound problem, so one of the core products we released is chain signatures, so which essentially, you know, provides you know, a unified interface for anyone or any application to interact with any blockchain. So that solves the outbound problem. And then for the inbound problem, it's you know, relatively easier. So we have the Omni Bridge, which is a wrapper of, you know, message passing layers, you know, light clients. For example, we have Bitcoin-like clients, Ethereum-like clients that can relay or, you know, that can help, you know, smart contract to verify transactions on foreign blockchains. So with the Omni Bridge and chain signatures, I feel like NEAR has the most complete, you know, tech stack for solving chain abstraction, you know, problems. And on top of that, what we have here is an open platform, right? So anyone can come and build on top of our infrastructure. So yeah, so come build with us.
So basically, chain abstraction unlocks Web3, right? Which of the current streams or projects excites you the most at the moment? If you were to name one or name a few.
Yeah, sure. I would say we are currently seeing, the projects we're seeing right now generally fall into 3 categories. The first one, which is the one that I'm most excited about, is DeFi for Bitcoin. So the concept here is that you can use NEAR for smart contracts and use Bitcoin for custody, right? So we are seeing lots of projects building things like Bitcoin lending protocols, cross-chain swaps and so forth. The second category is what we call the multi-chain account abstraction. So you can think of it as like a building super apps or wallets that you can use to interact with any chain. So we have Bite, we have Swat, we have hot wallets. And the last category is what we call chain agnostic apps or any chain apps. So essentially the concept here is that for developers, instead of explicitly or intentionally, choosing one chain to deploy your application to, right? You can actually build your application in a way that is agnostic to, to the chain that they are deployed on. For example, Diffuse is actually one example, right? So, yeah, Near Intent, I'm sorry. Near Intent is exactly one example. We also have another project called OmniLand. So essentially, imagine you can swap like Bitcoin on Bitcoin blockchain to USDC on Ethereum, right? And since chain signatures supports those chains on the signing scheme level, right? So for example, it currently supports ECDSA, so it covers all the ECDSA chains out there. But once it adds support for ED25519, that will automatically cover all the EDDSA chains like Solana, Tron, and so forth. So that means for all the applications building on top of chain signatures, they don't have to manually add support for each individual new chain. That's the beauty of it. So that's the 3 categories that we are currently seeing. And I would say the project I'm mostly excited about is Satoshi Protocol. So what they have done is that they have built a protocol where Bitcoin holders, they can connect their Bitcoin wallets and instantly be able to interact with all the dApps on NEAR. For example, they can deposit Bitcoin, and borrow USDC on Burrow, right? But there's more, right? They can extend it so that Bitcoin users, they can connect their Bitcoin wallets and be able to interact with the apps on Ethereum or other blockchains. And there is more. So in addition to being able to connect their Bitcoin wallet, right? They can even make it like they can support any wallets on any chain that has a mechanism for signing a random payload like BIP 322. So which means that they can enable any chain, any wallet to any chain type of interaction, right? So I think this really solves the kind of the last mile problem in chain abstraction.
So with that being said, Harshit, being the head of ecosystem, you have all this great tech that MJ just talked about. Where do you put your focus for the next 12 months to grow this ecosystem? What parts of the NEAR ecosystem with the current state it's in are really important to grow? Yeah,
I would say fundamentally novel primitives. I think something I alluded to in my talk earlier as well is, it's very easy to get a copy paste of a compound fork or an Aave fork or a Uniswap fork on any chain. But if you have fundamentally cool technology like chain signatures and NEAR intents, you can build net new primitives that's not possible anywhere. And you can not only build that for the NEAR ecosystem, but unlock net new flows of value for all chains. I mean, one thing I think we should all acknowledge is we live in an era, unfortunately, where it's PvP all across crypto. Like we have ecosystems that basically try to siphon liquidity and developers from each other with like predatory inflationary incentives. So how do we change that meta? How do we break out of that cycle and really grow the pie for everyone is what I personally am and the whole ecosystem is focused on. And I think, honestly, each of these new teams that are building on NEAR with chain signatures, NEAR intent, they are all building with a chip on their shoulders to deliver something of value that actually tangibly unlocks previously unexplored areas, like such as, you are a big XRP holder, let's say. There's nothing you can do with XRP. Everyone in crypto hates you. Like, hey, these bad guys, these boomers, what do they want to do with DeFi? If you're an XRP holder, there's no chance any protocol on Ethereum or any chain would enable XRP as collateral for lending. Like this notion that something's good, something's not good is what we need to break. And chain signatures and near intents do that, where you can natively have these assets, take out loans on any chains without bridging, without wrapping. So very excited for that. Touching very lightly on AI, I think, Ilya has talked about it multiple times that we can't, sleepwalk into a future where it's big tech companies determining, what type of assets we control, whether we even control them in the first place, and what's our freedom of choice. I think giving that to the users, and not me as a foundation diplomat sort of saying it in a philosophical way, but actually giving power in their hands to make their choices with sovereign AI, training models, training data that they control. They can decide whether they want to give it to big tech, whether they want to give it to any decentralized protocol is what I think will be enabling.
So do you think we have all the pieces in place to really grow the ecosystem? Like we've seen Frax come on board, programmable money, a lot of other interesting projects you're talking to. Are there anything we're missing, or are there any verticals you'd like to see built out or that you are working on building out?
Yeah, so I think, yes, we're missing a ton. Like it was a complete F5, MJ would know as well in terms of DeFi, and more broadly as well, where there was this 2-year period of lull where there was like barely anything interesting to do in DeFi. So we've been laying the foundational sort of building blocks for various DeFi primitives. We have a ton of new teams for each vertical now. One thing that I'm very excited about personally, someone who does a bunch of derivatives on synthetics or Vertex, is derivatives which are chain abstracted. So stay tuned. I mean, we haven't seen derivatives take off on NEAR yet, but that's about to change in a very big way. Chain abstracted derivatives is something I'm very excited about, and something that is currently missing. And then, as MJ also said, Bitcoin primitives. So I'm also excited for things like RWAs, yielding assets. So you have, take Athena or Frax, for example. I mean, Frax, we already have S-Frax on NEAR, which is a yielding asset. Now, being able to redeem S-Frax, the yield on any chain or Athena, that's really powerful. And doing that on non-smart contract chains, where you are long on no financial advice, where you're long on the native asset of that chain, especially by virtue of holding it and being able to earn yield by borrowing against that asset, is something I'm super excited about.
So it sounds like overall, the NEAR ecosystem, the state we're in actually now, is actually we're ready for the next 12 months, we're ready for the next 24 months, we're ready for the next 10 years, making me extremely bullish. And I want to tap into, we have got like 5 minutes left, the role that House of Stake hopefully will play in the ecosystem, decentralizing funding, empowering the community, and optimizing for engagement, right, long term. So maybe Harshit, I know you've been one of the core contributors working with Gauntlet. Maybe you could just walk us through what House of Stake is, and then I want to open up the panel to discuss various ways that we think this is going to be working for the ecosystem.
Yeah, so TLDR on the House of Stake. By the way, there will be a recording. The Gauntlet team just did a presentation on the main stage. So House of Stake is a new stake-weighted governance framework for the ecosystem, where the idea is NEAR stakers ultimately determine the direction in which liquidity, resources, and everything flows in the NEAR ecosystem. So giving this power to NEAR stakers, where they can delegate their NEAR tokens, lock these NEAR tokens in a smart contract for a number of months or years, and then get voting rights corresponding to that stake amount and stake duration. That's basically House of Stake. With that voting right, or like NEAR, which is based on the V-curve model, they can not only do governance on chain, but participate in broader DeFi engagements as well. So that's the TLDR on House of Stake. How this ties to ecosystem building in general is, decentralized funding has been a big bottleneck for all ecosystems, despite it being a big focus for all chains. This first started in the Ethereum ecosystem with grant making, things like Give It for charity, and then Gitcoin for funding public goods as well. But no ecosystem has achieved decentralized funding at scale. It's still a foundation sitting atop a hill, making funding decisions, which pisses some people off for good reasons. So really determining what NEAR holders want to see get funded without any inherent bias or gaming mechanisms where people can game the flow of funds is what the House of Stake would unlock. And some alpha here that Ilya is also going to talk about soon is we will be exploring Ilya's vision further with the House of Stake. So for those of you who were at NearCon last year, you would remember Ilya teased this idea of an AI president. We will first start with an AI delegate for the House of Stake, where it's not just a human that you trust or some entity that we trust, but there will be AI delegates that people will be able to delegate their NEAR tokens to and trust that delegate to AI delegate to make decisions on their behalf for the goodwill of token holders. And building on top of that, we'll continue exploring with sub-DAOs and subcommittees leading to an AI president, hopefully.
Okay, so I hope these AI delegates will build upon some of the personas that we have up here today. Marcus, are you going to delegate to an AI or are you going to delegate to a human?
I mean, in this space, I probably trust an AI with delegating more than a human. So.
And how do you see the House of Stake empowering the community? Like you've always been in the community, right?
Yeah, I could see it as a more rock solid kind of model than what was the previous governance experiment that was run. I'm pretty excited for it. Definitely, it's been kind of in the works for a while. So.
And Vlad, do you see House of Stake play a role for DevHub?
There are still challenges on the way, so we'll definitely look into the future, how it will unroll. I definitely see that it's evolving rapidly, and we need to not just, ask if we are okay with it. It's happening, so we need to find out how to actually employ it, how to integrate it with it in a most efficient way, and capturing the values that we believe needs to be there. So that's why I believe NEAR is well positioned to lead this, because it all started as from the core ground up, people with the core values aligned with openness and open source and all those initiatives. And during the keynote yesterday, Ilya was pitching this idea that there is no other better team to lead it, just because there is just one team.
And I think that sums it up for, in general, I really want to advocate that we have a pragmatic mindset in the ecosystem. Let's keep on iterating, let's keep on innovating, let's keep on experimenting, let's keep on giving open feedback, and let's not dwell with the failures. We learn from the failures and the things of the past, and we can only look one way, which is forward. So thank you so much for coming today, guys. It was a pleasure.